Hello YouTube, this is Bruno. Today I will show you a chorus farm that I built here on the Jcraft server. It's fully AFKable, it's self-sustaining as far as chorus flowers are concerned. Technically it's not too difficult to build. You will need a few clocks and a few pulse extenders and a bit of rails. The farm is modular, so you can build this one a lot bigger or a lot smaller depending on your personal preferences. The farm as it stands here would probably take 2 to 3 hours to build in vanilla survival, and it produces roughly a shulker box of chorus fruits per hour. In a 10-hour test run I ended up with about 1850 chorus fruits per hour. Here's the farm in operation. After a timer runs out, we relay a signal to the TNT dupers on top, which drop their TNT and will break the top of the chorus plants, which contains the most chorus flowers, and will drop the flowers. After a moment, we will start water streams, which break the remaining plants and flush most of the drops into a water channel, where they are moved to a sorting system. At the same time, the player receives a stack of chorus flowers from a dropper and is launched in a minecart, holds the use button, plants new chorus flowers, and at the same time picks up most of the remaining drops. Then the player is returned to the minecart station, the chorus flowers grow for about 20 to 25 minutes, and after that the process is repeated. Here's the perspective of the player. I have placed a target block here that has no function but means as aiming help. You have to aim just a little bit right of the center to avoid accidentally opening any of the trapdoors. And of course I use an auto clicker to hold down the right mouse button. And I also used Tweakeroo, which is a client-side mod, which allowed a so-called fast right-click. This makes sure that all of the spots receive a chorus flower, otherwise if you use just a vanilla game, you will miss a few spots. But this mod is not required to run the farm, you can just use the vanilla game, and if you miss a few spots, then the rates will suffer a little bit. I designed this farm from scratch, and it does have a few rough edges, so this video will have 2 more parts. The first part is I will explain the farm and the redstone, and the second part I will talk a bit about the design challenges that I met and how I solved them. This farm is nowhere near optimal. I'm pretty sure that you could significantly increase the rates, for example by fiddling with the layout of the chorus plants or with the TNT dupers and also with the timings, but for the time being I'm quite happy with this farm. Obviously there are only so many uses for chorus fruits. End rods are actually a great lighting source. Purple blocks give a nice touch of color. Of course, if you want to. With this farm you could do this. But let's head to Creative and the world download to get a closer look at the farm. So the farm is very modular. Each module is 5 blocks wide. You can only plant chorus flowers on endstone, and these are 2 blocks away from the rails. And to continue the water stream, to harvest the plants, you will need a drop of 1 block after every 7 blocks. But of course you can use as many of those stairs as you like. Harvesting is a 2-step process. First, we use TNT dupers to break the top of the plants and harvest enough chorus flowers. The TNT dupers are controlled by this trapdoor. So if we change the scaffolding, after a few seconds a signal will arrive up at the TNT dupers. And they will break the top of the plants. We will flush the rest of the plants down using water, like this. The sorting system filters out the chorus flowers and moves them into these droppers. So whenever the harvesting starts, the player will receive chorus flowers from these droppers, and the rest of the drops go into the shulker box loaders, which is set to break the shulker box if it's not quite full, for reasons that I'll explain in a moment. You see there are a few shroom lights in there. Apart from the item sorter, here's pretty much all of the redstone. First, we have a clock that fires once every 25 minutes roughly. And once it fired, it will first give a signal to the TNT duper to fire. But it takes a while for the signal to be processed. It takes a second to travel 20 blocks. And then the TNT takes a while to fall. So we have a delay here. So this is a simple delay circuit basically. And after about 35 seconds, which is enough time for the TNT to explode and all the drops to drop, we will have a signal here that on one hand cuts the power to all these trapdoors, releasing the water long enough so that all the drops are flushed down and the plants are broken. And on the other hand, we will start this minecart here after firing these droppers, which give the player enough chorus flowers. So the minecart starts, which can also be done using this button here. And the player just has to be in here and aim at the right spot. And that's already the core idea of the farm. The problem in chorus farming is usually to get enough flowers. If you break a plant manually, or if you break it using a water stream, you will just get chorus fruit as drops, but no flowers. But you can harvest flowers using arrows, even using dispensers. So this will drop the flower, or using TNT. So this is what we need. It is actually possible to use arrows. Here's a proof of concept how this works. So this would be also a clock controlling this. The clock will fire 2 arrows from each dispenser. And then we use water to flush the chorus flowers down. These go into a cobweb. Player would sit here in a minecart and would replenish the chorus flowers. But I didn't really like this design very much. The rates aren't great, and of course you need a huge amount of dispensers. Arrows are probably less of a problem if you have a universal mob farm or piglin bartering setup, but crafting dispensers is always a pain in the backside. So it has to be TNT to harvest the flowers. Now there are a few things to consider if you want to build this in survival. First, of course, you want to be phantom proof, and that means you have to block sky access for the player at any time. In the area of the TNT dupers, you also want to obstruct the chorus plants. So part of the roof is up here. Unfortunately, I thought about it only after building the TNT dupers and the rails. So here is actually a gap in the roof. So you of course will be smarter and not build the TNT dupers over the rails, or just have the phantom proofing over the TNT dupers. This works as well. The second problem may not be a problem for you if you play in Minecraft 19.3 or higher versions, but our server is still at 19.2 and there is a nasty bug that allows mobs to spawn on top of the chorus plants. And of course, if you harvest at night, the mobs will drop down into the water streams and be on the platform while the player drives down in the minecart, which will usually lead to the untimely death of the AFK player. If you play in a Minecraft version where this bug still exists, you need lighting. Chorus plants grow higher than 15 blocks, so it's not sufficient to light up the floor. You will also need some lighting on top, and you want the lighting in a way that the lights are not blown off by the TNT duper. I'll admit I was rather lazy, because I have a netherwood farm, which also produces a lot of shroom lights. I just basically spammed the whole of the area here using shroom lights and then let the farm run for a while. And this is the result. A few lights less, but if you turn on the lighting, for example using mini hut, you can see that enough shroom lights survived. But there is a random component. The TNT can land on the chorus plants and explode in a different spot, so a few more of these shroom lights will be destroyed. Which also means they end up in the output in the shulker box loader, and that's the reason why I didn't configure it for signal strength 15, break the shulker box if the signal strength reaches 14. But again, this is a headache that you won't have to deal with if you play in the newest version. The next problem arises only if you use more than 63 chorus plants, like this farm here. The player starts, of course, with a full stack of chorus flowers in its hand, and typically the player will pick up a few chorus flowers on the way that landed on the rails, but unfortunately you can't rely on that. So it can happen that your slot is empty, and the next thing you pick up are a few chorus fruits. You hold down right click, so you eat them, which leads you to teleport, and to eat more, and to teleport, and to eat more. And at some point you might end up in a spot that isn't lit up, where you are killed by mobs. At the very least, the farm will stop working, of course. Well, there are two ways around this. Either you make the farm smaller, or you find ways to resupply the player on its way with fresh chorus flowers. And one such resupply station is here. The detector rail starts a pulse extender, and for a couple of seconds we will use this observer clock to place fresh chorus flowers using a dropper and a scope wrap. The chorus flowers need 20 seconds to travel through and to fall into the hopper below. But in this time, the player passes this resupply station and picks up all of the chorus flowers, unless the inventory slot of the player is already full. Right now, I've just filled the dispenser manually. The player gets about 20 chorus fruit. If we harvest every 20 minutes, one dropper full will last about 10 hours. We have 3 droppers here. We can AFK for 30 hours. So right now, this manual solution is good enough for me. Another thing that could be improved is the item pickup. Quite a lot of the items get stuck in these rails here. As long as your inventory is empty, and I recommend to have it look something like this maybe, you will of course pick up the chorus fruits, but after a few runs your inventory will be full. So you could add maybe a hopper minecart, or you could make the whole collection system hopper minecart related. I could also imagine a setup like this, with a water collection below and a flying machine to harvest the plants. But for now, I'm happy with the solution. I got quite a few shulker boxes chorus fruit out of it. In the world download I included a second version of the farm, where I use ENXO4's TNT dupers. They have the advantage that you can actually tweak the height at which the TNT explodes. Each of these TNT dupers receives 2 pulses. The first pulse ignites the TNT, the second releases it. By adjusting the delay, you can configure how long the TNT is held. These repeaters are where you can tweak the delay. For example, by adding a tick here, the TNT would explode slightly higher. By decreasing the delay, the TNT would explode slightly lower. No lighting on top here, because I assume that you'll do this in 1.19.3, where the bug is fixed. Also, the roof is moved over the TNT dupers. You could build this farm in the end, which would of course solve the phantom issue, but I prefer to have it in my industrial district. So if I'm working on some other farm, or I'm using one of my farms, the chorus plants will grow as well. So I don't have to AFK at this farm. If the chorus plants have fully grown, all I need to do is basically turn on the clock for the collection, grab a stack of chorus flowers, hop into the minecart, enable fast right click, and plant a new batch. And of course this could be made a bit more convenient. But anyway, thanks for sticking around and watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you want to see more content like this. And leave a comment if you want a block by block tutorial or if you built this farm. And do let me know if you made any improvements or any changes. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.